The city lights glowed like scattered diamonds outside my office window, reflected back at me in the glass walls that now bore my name. Rachel Carter, Chief Operations Officer. I traced the lettering with my eyes, letting the weight of it settle on me. Not for the first time. Tonight felt different. Tonight, everything was coming full circle. The soft hum of the AC filled the silence, broken only by the buzz of my phone on the desk. His name flashed on the screen. Mark Henderson. I let it buzz twice before I picked it up, just long enough to remind myself that I didn't know him urgency anymore. Send him in, I said to my assistant over the intercom, my voice calm, steady. My heart wasn't. I smoothed the front of my silk blouse, the pale cream fabric soft under my fingertips, and leaned back in the leather chair. The polished wood of my desk gleamed under the warm light, every detail curated to reflect the power I'd built for myself. He would be here any second. The man who had once told me I wasn't ready for leadership, who had smiled as he handed my promotion to someone less qualified, was about to walk into my office. Only now he worked for me, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to smile, cry, or tell him exactly how much that moment had changed my life. 3 years ago, I was sitting in the same building but in a very different office. I can still see it clearly. The long conference table, the overly bright fluorescent lights, the cheap coffee in a paper cup clutched between my shaking hands. My heart had been pounding so hard that morning I could feel it in my ears. It was promotion day. I had worked 18 months straight for this moment. Late nights, early mornings, picking up projects no one else wanted. My performance reviews sparkled. My numbers spoke for themselves. Everyone knew I was next in line for the senior manager role. Everyone except, apparently, Mark Henderson. He strolled into the room that morning with his usual smug smile, the kind that made you feel like you were already one step behind him. "Team," he said, clapping his hands together. "Exciting news. After careful consideration, we've decided to promote Daniel to senior manager." The room clapped. I smiled. At least, I think I did. My lips felt numb. Daniel, nice enough, but nowhere near as experienced as me, looked shocked and thrilled. "Rachel," Mark said, turning to me, "you're doing great work. Keep it up. Your time will come. Your time will come." The words hit me like ice water. My throat burned, but I swallowed hard and nodded like a good soldier. That night, I sat on my couch with my laptop open, staring at job listings through tears. I called my grandmother, the only person who ever seemed to really understand me. "Honey," she said, her voice steady as always, "if they can't see your value, stop waiting for them to hand it to you. Don't beg for a seat at the table. Build your own table." She mailed me a small silver key the next week, a pendant, simple but elegant. I wore it every day after that. A reminder that the door to my future didn't need anyone else's permission to open. And 2 weeks later, I sent in my resignation letter. I walked out of that building with my head held high, even though my hands were shaking. I didn't know exactly what I was walking toward, only that I would never again let someone else decide when my time would come. Leaving that company felt like jumping off a cliff, terrifying, exhilarating, and oddly freeing all at once. I landed at a mid-sized consulting firm across town, one that barely anyone at my old job had even heard of. Their lobbies smelled faintly of fresh paint and ambition. The CEO, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Evelyn Blake, interviewed me herself. "Your resume says you built a $2 million portfolio last year," she said, glancing up at me with piercing blue eyes. "Why are you here?" "Because I know I can do more," I replied, surprising myself with how steady my voice sounded. She hired me on the spot. That first year was brutal. I was learning a new industry, working 12-hour days, and fighting to prove myself all over again. I often stayed late, my silver key pendant resting cool against my collarbone as I pored over data and strategies. Evelyn noticed. "You've got fire," she told me one night when we were the last two in the office. "Use it, but don't burn yourself out." She became my mentor, teaching me how to think like an executive, not just an employee. Under her guidance, I closed my first six-figure client, then another. By the end of year 2, I was leading my own team and loving it. The wins were small at first. The first time my client renewals beat projections. The first time someone called me boss. The first bonus check that allowed me to move into a sunny one-bedroom apartment with hardwood floors and space for my own desk. I posted modest updates on LinkedIn, just enough for old colleagues to think I was doing okay. I never bragged, never mentioned my growing portfolio, the team I was leading, or the quiet offers coming in from competitors. I wanted my work to speak for itself. And it did. 3 years later, when Evelyn announced her retirement, she called me into her office. "I'm stepping down," she said, smiling softly. "And I recommended you for COO." I froze. "You've built half this company's growth pipeline," she continued. "You've earned this." When the board approved my promotion, I sat alone in the parking garage afterward, gripping the steering wheel, tears streaming down my face. Not because I was scared, but because I had finally built my own table, and now I had a seat at the head of it. I wore my silver key pendant to my first board meeting, hidden under my blouse, where only I knew it was there. It was my quiet reminder. This door, I opened myself. The knock on my office door snapped me back to the present. "Come in," I called, my voice smooth. The door opened, and there he was, Mark Henderson. Same square jaw, same expensive suit, but something was different. His shoulders were a little hunched, his eyes a little tired. "Rachel," he said, forcing a smile. "It's been a while." "Yes," I said, gesturing toward the chair across from me. "It has." He sat, glancing around the room. His gaze lingered on the wall where my framed awards hung. Executive of the Year, Top 40 Under 40, and a glossy magazine cover with my name in bold letters. "Nice office," he said finally. "Thank you." I folded my hands on the desk, letting the silence stretch just long enough for him to feel it. "I'm sure you know why I'm here," he said, clearing his throat. "After the merger, things have been difficult. Our division's numbers are down and corporate wants to restructure. They mentioned you'd be overseeing the transition." "I am," I said, my voice calm, professional. He hesitated, searching my face. "Rachel, look, I know we didn't always see eye to eye back then, but I think we can work together now. I'd like to stay on and help turn things around." I almost laughed. Not out of cruelty, but at the irony. The man who once decided I wasn't ready for leadership was now asking me to save his job. "Mark," I said softly, leaning forward. "Do you remember the day you promoted Daniel over me?" His jaw tightened. Yes. I do. You told me my time would come." He nodded slowly. "I did." "Well," I said, smiling just a little, "my time came. And now, I'm the one making the decisions." He looked down, then back up at me. "Rachel, I'm sorry. I was wrong about you." I let the words hang there. There had been a time when hearing them might have been enough. But now I knew better. "This isn't about apologies," I said. "It's about what kind of culture we're going to build moving forward. I won't tolerate favoritism, dismissive leadership, or people being passed over for opportunities they've earned." His face reddened, but he nodded. "Understood." I gestured around the room. "Everything you see here, I built this. And I built it because you once told me I wasn't ready. So, if you want to stay, you'll do it under my terms." He swallowed hard, then stood. "You've done well for yourself, Rachel," he said quietly. "Yes," I replied, standing too. "I have." As he walked out, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the window, confident, composed, and entirely in control. For the first time in years, I felt the sting of that old rejection dissolve completely. I had waited so long for this moment. And now that it was here, I didn't feel the urge to gloat or lash out. I just felt free. The next morning, I called an all-hands leadership meeting. The conference room was full of familiar faces, some curious, some anxious. Mark sat near the end of the table, quiet, hands folded, clearly aware that this meeting could determine his future. I stood at the head of the table, calm but firm. "Before we discuss restructuring," I began, "I want to make something clear. This transition isn't just about numbers. It's about culture." I let that settle before continuing. When I first started my career, I watched talented, hardworking people get overlooked because they weren't the loudest in the room or because someone decided they weren't ready. I was one of them. That ends today. I clicked the remote, and the screen behind me lit up with our new initiatives. Mentorship programs. Every manager would be required to mentor at least one junior employee each quarter. Transparent promotions, clear criteria, documented evaluations, no more backroom decisions. Inclusive leadership training, mandatory for all department heads. This is how we move forward, I said. This is how we make sure the right people have a chance to rise, based on merit, not favoritism. I turned to Mark. You can stay, I said plainly. But you'll go through leadership training first. And I expect you to personally mentor 2 women on your team this quarter. Think of it as your chance to fix what you once overlooked. For a moment, the room was silent. Then Mark nodded, his face serious. Understood, he said. This isn't punishment, I added, softening my tone. It's a chance to grow. For all of us. Several managers exchanged glances, some looking relieved, others thoughtful. As the meeting wrapped up, I felt a strange sense of peace. This wasn't revenge. It wasn't about making anyone grovel. It was about building the kind of workplace I had once needed. A place where someone like me would never again have to wonder if her talent would be recognized. As everyone filed out, Mark paused by the door. Rachel, he said quietly, thank you for giving me a chance to do better. I nodded. Just make sure you do. He gave a small, almost humble smile, then left. I glanced at the silver key pendant peeking from under my blouse and felt its weight against my skin. The door to my future had opened, and now I was holding it open for others, too. Over the next few months, I watched the office change in small but meaningful ways. The mentorship program kicked off, and I saw junior analysts meeting with senior managers over coffee, their faces lit up with hope and excitement. Promotion boards became open discussions, with clear metrics and no more whispered favoritism. Even Mark surprised me. He didn't just go through the leadership training, he leaned into it. I caught him more than once sitting with his ments, not just talking about work, but asking about their goals, their ambitions. It wasn't overnight, but he was trying. And that meant something. One late evening, after everyone had gone home, I stood in my office with the city glowing below me. I pulled the silver key pendant from under my blouse, turning it over in my fingers. My grandmother's words echoed in my mind. Don't beg for a seat at the table. Build your own table. I smiled softly. She'd been right. I had built my table, and now others were gathering around it. Not just to work for me, but to grow, to lead, to find their own place at the head one day. I tucked the key back under my blouse and glanced at my reflection in the window. I didn't just see a COO. I saw a woman who had turned pain into power, rejection into resolve. And as I turned off the lights and headed for the elevator, I whispered to myself, a quiet final line for the story only I would ever truly understand. He once thought I wasn't ready for the seat, so I built the whole table. And this time I smiled.